Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Waiting on folks to join us today. We're going to have Liana Molina from East Bay Alliance for a Sustainable Economy, as well as Cheuk Li from APEN, Asian Pacific Environmental Network, to join us. We're going to be talking about public land for public good as it centers around sports teams and kind of specifically around Oakland A's. And we had EBASE and APEN on a few weeks ago before we went on break to talk about it. And we're just waiting on Liana and Cheuk to join us. And if you have time today, want to join Anti-Police Terror Project and other folks from the Defund Police Coalition here in Oakland at 1:30 at, I believe, 96th and let me get that actual place. The location, it's 96th and 96th and Cherry Street at 96th Ave in East Oakland, at the site of where Eric Salgado was murdered by CHP. They're going to be coming out as a coalition and then as community folks to talk about the impact of Libby Schaaf's, the mayor of Oakland's, stance and, again, race baiting to get CHP, went to the governor to get them to allow CHP to be able to ticket and police our streets, and the detriment that this will have to our communities. So I see APEN joined us. They're both here, so let me add them both. So if you can join, please go out there. There's going to be a press conference and rally at 1:30. Oh, there's Liana. What's up?
Hi, Liz.
You're turned sideways, though.
Oh, no. Okay.
There we go.
Is that better?
Okay. Yes.
All right.
Let me send another request to someone put. I'm gonna drop this Facebook event for the CHP rally. Thank you for doing that, APEN. I believe that's Cheuk, though, no? We're having trouble Cheuk joining.
Oh, it says Protect Oakland Chinatown joined. Oh.
No, APEN.
Oh, well.
So I invited them, but they're not able to join. Let's see why not. Can you request to join?
I saw a prompt and it also and you invited me and then it said I could request to join. So on that.
Yeah. So Cheuk, if you are on the APEN account.
She says, hi, how do I get on? I'm here.
Yeah, so you can, at the bottom it says request to join, and then I can invite you. Or when I click on the invite to you, then I send you a request and you just accept the invitation. It happens. This is how it works. Technology. Well, while we're waiting for Cheuk to figure that out. Cheuk, if you also need to be on a phone or on an iPad the IG app, not on a laptop or a computer.
Major key.
Do, 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 do. How are you, Liana? So, Liana Molina, amazing organizer with East Bay Alliance for a Sustainable Economy. How are you doing?
Hey Liz, what's happening? I'm doing good. We have a staff retreat or a learning session later about
Ah,
C3s and C4s. So
woo woo.
yeah, it's your
That's
jam.
and the jam that I'm always still going, what do I do?
Yeah.
Um, just so
We have East Bay Action now. So
exactly. That's very
cool.
exciting. Very,
Hmm.
very exciting, and I am actually in the office now.
Wow. How's it
I
feel?
lonely. I'm very lonely, Liana. There's nobody here. So I had to bring my dog with me so you can see. She's do do do.
Oh, so cozy.
Yeah. I put a little bed here by my bed,
Oh,
by my desk, but she don't like the bed. She likes the sofa here. So less lonely in that manner.
I'm a supporter of having sofas in the office.
Yes,
It's nice, right?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to invite APEN one more time.
Okay.
See if that
There
helps.
she comes.
Oh, here she is.
Hey,
Yay!
sweetie.
Hi.
Hey.
I
What's
was
up?
definitely on my computer trying to get on.
Doesn't
So
work like
thanks
that.
for that tip. Should have asked much sooner.
It's all good. It's all good. You're here now. That's what's important. So, Cheuk Li from Asian Pacific Environmental Network, thank you both for being here today. I'm so
All right.
excited.
Woo.
Um, I just admire both of you, and I admire all the work that you do and who you are as people. Like Chuck always like walks up with just like this energy that's just infectious. That smile, see that smile? There's that smile. And Liana just always calm in the
Oh,
storm. There's always a
sorry.
calm that she comes with.
Oh.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad that I come off to be calm because sometimes inside I'm like, what is happening? Hey, Chuck, I
um,
heard you on KPFA this morning. Nice.
Oh
Nice.
my gosh.
Good interview.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be at the rally after this and definitely hope to see folks there as well.
Yay! Yeah, so show up. And I think Chuck, you were going to drop you dropped the Facebook chat, a Facebook Live event, so you could check it out there. You can go to I think any one of our social medias to also find out where to go, and Anti-Police Terror Project, of course. But today, let's start off with, this is Monday Meals. So, what are the ways that you're nourishing yourself? How are you doing that? Like, you can say it, I want to hear what you're having for lunch. And because I always want to know that my people are fed. That is like one of my things. Um, and like, if you come to my house, you are going to be fed well. So I want to know that you are
Yes.
taking care of yourselves. And then also, what's like one way that you're nourishing yourself aside from just eating well, if you are eating well. And, your spirit, your mind, your heart, all of that. So maybe Liana, you can start us off.
I was gonna invite Chip to go first,
Oh,
but
you
okay,
want
no, it's fine.
it's all good. Either
So
one.
I ate right before I hopped on this call, mainly because I didn't want to. I'm a little bit messy, you know. I get really into my food, and I wanted to keep it safe for work. Um,
You didn't want food chunks
yeah,
coming at the camera.
no, I didn't want like stuff in my teeth and what have you. But my a friend who I think we probably all know, Cynthia, who used to work for Causa Justa and St. Peter's, Cynthia
Yeah.
Otoli, she had stewed some meat and like just hooked me up with a mason jar of like stewed meat. So I just ate
Oh,
some of that with some tostadas, and it was lovely. And so I sent that to her.
oh, that's like all that love too that she probably poured into it too that you're feeling.
Yes, Yes, she's very good vibes. So she's like, hey,
Aw.
I made all this, people come through. I was like, I'm not one to say no to, when my friends offered to feed me. So yeah, I hit her up, and that's what I've been munching on over the last few days.
Oh, I love it. So I see Protect Oakland Chinatown is having coffee and leftover birthday cake.
Yum. Yes.
Some days it's just got to be leftover birthday cake.
That
Like,
sounds delicious. I would love some cake. And
that
then as
sounds
far as
right.
other things, I walk a lot, Liz. That's
Yeah.
my anti-anxiety medicine. Yeah, just being in nature. We have so many beautiful parks, so I try and take advantage and just go
What
at least
what's
1, 2, 3 mile walks.
I love it.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite park?
My favorite is probably Joaquin Miller or Redwood Regional, but what's right up the street is Anthony Chabot, which is also nice.
Yeah,
So
that is nice. That is nice.
yeah,
How
but
about
that's
you?
enough about me.
That if you all know Liana would be like, "Oh, let me share this spotlight over here. Let me shine it over here." She's always trying to get out of the spotlight. Um, Chuck, how about you? What are you having for lunch? And what are you doing to nourish yourself?
Yeah, I made a stop to Starbread in Richmond this weekend. Have you all been before?
No, what is it?
Oh my God. Well, they're known for like their señorita bread, which is like
Ooh.
flour, butter, and sugar. It's delicious. That's all.
We're staying on
Might
the.
as well be birthday cake.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah. I mean, it's infamous. I've heard people talk about it like for years, and I just have never had the opportunity. But now you're motivating me again.
Yes. Whenever you stop by Richmond again,
Star
you
bread.
must go. Yes,
Okay.
Starbread.
Senorita
Okay,
bread. All right.
got it.
Take note.
Got it. Taking note. Taking note. Um, someone wrote same, same. So what are other ways that you're like nourishing yourself, Chuck?
Yeah. I mean, it's such a privilege to live in a city that like, has no seasons. I'm really enjoying this. I'm from Seattle, and so I can't go to where the sun, but I do enjoy the rain a lot more as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've really been spending time in my backyard and doing some weeding and cleaning up in there.
I love
That's how
it.
I take care of myself.
I love it. I once spent, I was working this job and I was able to negotiate having Fridays off. Like I used all of my sick leave to take Fridays off for like 3 months. So every Friday I would go to Namu Farm, which at back then, if it's a Korean American farm run by this really great person, Kristen Leach. She ran this farm in Sunol, so it was closer. She moved to Dixon out near Davis. But when she was here in Sunol, I would go there every Friday and I would just weed the green onion patch. And it would be so therapeutic. I would spend like 3 hours and I would just like work this entire row, just weeds. And there was something so therapeutic about just being in the ground and getting my hands dirty and weeding. Who thought I'd be like thinking weeding was so therapeutic, but it was. It was so beautiful. Um, I haven't had lunch yet, y'all, because I this is my first time back in the office. I had made
Mm,
enough lunch, I thought, and both my kids are back in school, so I thought like I had made enough leftovers for all of us to have lunch. But no, my kids took all of the food, all my kimchi fried rice. So I didn't have anything. So now I am like scrambling to think about what I'm gonna buy for lunch. And so I don't know, I'm probably gonna try to take a walk. And I think that too, for me, is like one of the things that I do to take care of myself is I get to walk my dog every day. I
mm.
walk like 2 to 4 miles a day. And it just
That's
clears
awesome.
my head. It's been a little harder because the smoky air and my asthma, but I still do it. I'll put on my N95 mask and get outside. So, so appreciate you both. We've been on break. Oakland Rising has been on our summer break, and then I took an extra week off for vacation, and I just literally went like this. I went like this. I pulled my ear down and everything in my brain just spilled out. So while I was on vacation, because I
Oh,
was laying on the
oh,
hammock so much, I was laying on the hammock so much that I was like, just let everything pour out of my brain. And so I haven't really been thinking about much in terms of how things have been moving. But I know that eBase, you all had an event where you were talking about what's been going on with Howard's Terminal and the A's and all of that kind of stuff. And so catch me up, y'all. I need to catch up.
All right. Well, first of all, welcome back. And I'm so glad to hear that you were able to really decompress and not work and not think about everything because that's so necessary. And yeah, it's good to have you. When we last spoke, I was with Alvina.
Mm-hmm.
It was July 12th. So a couple of days after that, we did like a press conference and a rally outside the A's headquarters in Jack London.
That's right.
And it was really dope because APEN came up with some visuals, like some baseballs and bats, and wrote all of our demands on this. And we really sent the A's a message around stop playing hardball and
Yeah,
yeah,
y'all used all the baseball metaphors.
yeah, there was a lot of baseball metaphors happening. I'm trying to think of some other ones. We got a lot of media around that, and
Yeah,
then
that's
a few
great.
days later is when the council ended up having this big city council vote.
Right.
And what they were voting on was an agreement that was going to guide the negotiations toward a final agreement.
Right.
And so it's called a term sheet. So
Right.
that's like the real high level overview, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll invite Cheuk to kind of share, what you want to add, and then maybe we can talk about the actual council, what they approved and what it means.
yeah,
Y'all, when I was
definitely.
thinking about this Monday Meals, like the title for this Monday Meals, Oakland Rising's comms folks were like, we were all throwing out all of these baseball metaphors. I was like, we're not doing baseball metaphors no more. I'm done with them. Like during that meeting, that city council meeting, I felt like they used every single metaphor they could use. And I was like, I'm so over this. We
Yes.
need something different.
Well, if we're not going to get affordable housing out of this, then why not put some baseball puns and oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I mean, there hasn't been too much happening
Mm,
because council is on recess right now for August, and
right.
so in some ways the ball is in the A's court. We did all our work in the front end. Like they asked, right? We
Mm-hmm.
participated in their CBA process. The Chinatown Coalition sent in like a 56-page comment letter on the draft EIR, thanks to a dozen volunteers that put
Mm-hmm.
in hours of work. And yeah, I think at the July 20th City Council meeting, they passed the non-binding term sheet,
Right.
and that really, because it's non-binding, it's a directive kind of from different city council members to have the developers and the city staff, actually, mostly the city staff and administration, continue to talk to us and try and get on the same page about what it is that we need from this deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
we're kind of waiting right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you say, let's do a little bit of roundup about like what happened during that meeting too, right? Because um, it was an interesting process, right? Because there was some presentations, and then from the city, and then the city council members asked some questions, and I heard a lot from, what I'm remembering is that Carol Fife, city council member from District 3, was questioning, like, why are we going for, like, is this a moot point? If the A's are sitting here, Dave Cavall was saying, like, oh, this is new to us, and just kind of acting as if he didn't know about some of the requests from the city or from the community, right, about the term sheet and the community benefits. And um, it was sort of like, he was like acting, what he said was, I think what he said is, I have to go back to our committee because I don't think we're in agreement. And, you know, he was sort of acting like he didn't know anything about what they were talking about. But my understanding is that he's been in negotiation with the city, with city council members, and with community members about what that, you know, community benefits would look like or could look like, and that it's actually wasn't very new to everybody else but him, right? It seemed like. So I'm wondering if you could catch us up a little bit about what, again, like a review about what are some of those benefits that were being asked and that were added to the term sheet that, and some of it was, I was feeling like, oh, did we just lose out on some of this stuff around affordable housing because the income levels and things like that? So maybe if you all can catch us up on what those were.
Yeah, so just to rewind a little bit, the
Mm-hmm.
way this all got kicked off is because Dave, back in like April, around April, did this Twitter announcement that the A's were putting forward their offer, their financial offer to the city. And they made it sound like the city was dragging its feet, like the city was taking its time. But in
Mm-hmm.
reality, this is a massive project and it takes a long time for it to go through all the approvals, right? So it's
Right.
not like the city's doing anything out of the ordinary. This is just how it goes, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of processes, there's a lot of community things that they, you know, there's just a lot that has to go into it as far as the approvals. But they kind of created a crisis and forced the council to deal with this before their recess, right? So it was like
Mm-hmm.
a public pressure, it was like a corporate bullying campaign
That's right.
by, you know, Dave is the president of the A's, but really, you know, the team is owned by this billionaire, John Fisher, right? We've
Right.
talked about this before. So
Right.
this is a billionaire corporate developer campaign to put pressure on the city council. So they put forward this offer, which we thought was really shitty because
Mm-hmm.
they were saying, like, we're not going to do any affordable housing. We want to create these special tax districts that's going to basically pay for all of this. Those were, yeah. So what happened in July before the council meeting was that they had a subcommittee meeting, which was a
Mm-hmm.
study session for the council, where the staff laid out, well, here's what the A's proposed. Here's what we, the staff who works under the city administration, right, the mayor, here's what we're proposing. They heard all this stuff from the council. The council was basically like, yeah, we don't want the deal that the A's put forward, right? We need to keep negotiating
Right.
and push harder on these different things. And then
Mm-hmm.
between that, I think that was on July 7th and the 20th, there was more work and negotiations that were happening.
Mm-hmm.
So Vice Mayor Kaplan and Council President Bass were
Mm-hmm.
taking the primary lead in trying to develop a framework that the council would be amenable to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the trash that the A's put forward. You know, I think
That's right.
I think the city administration did a good job of like kind of trying to bring the council along with their proposal. But from a community standpoint, we're saying, well, that's still not enough, right? We
Right.
want a stronger commitment, especially around the affordable housing piece and the
Right.
levels of affordability, right?
Right.
We want like real working class Oaklanders to be able to have access to some of these units that are going to be built. It can't contribute to the housing crisis that we're already experiencing.
Exactly.
It has to help address it, right?
Right.
So I'm going to wrap up soon so that Cheuk can also share their perspective. But so there was amendments that Vice Mayor Kaplan and Council President Bass had been working on and had put together right up until the meeting itself,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's what was read into the record as part of the council meeting, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what Dave was reacting to, saying, well, I haven't heard any of this before, we didn't agree to this, like we wanted you to vote on our proposal, this is something different, we don't know where we can go from here, right? So that's
Right.
kind of what happened. But what was in those amendments was stronger language. So for example, the city said we want 35% affordable housing. So I know that a lot of people like us that live in Oakland, right, we were like, no, we need to have 100%. But, you know, economically, politically, there's all these things in which like 35% would feel like it was something, right? Relative to how these projects happen and what you're able to win.
Right.
That felt significant, but there's still a lot of questions around the affordability levels, right? And we're saying
Right.
it has to be for like very low, extremely low income families,
Right.
right? It can't be for families making 120,000 because that's not, we don't consider that to be folks that are more vulnerable to displacement, right?
Right.
To homelessness or that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
And so folks would know, just so folks know, like what that means is like when they're talking about affordable housing, what happens is that you have to meet the income levels, right? You have to fall below a specific income line. And right now, they're saying that that affordability standard is like 75,000, which for many Oaklanders, that's they won't, they get boxed out. Then they're kind of lumped like really, really poor folks and working class folks, right? Like, so let's break that down. 75,000 equals to about $30 an hour. Like, right? So we're boxing out even folks that are on our Oakland minimum wage, which is $15 an hour. So that like you're then thrown into this big pot with other people that have higher income levels. So the ability for folks in terms of equity towards people who really need the housing. And this is not to say that folks who are making 75,000 aren't struggling, because affordability in the Bay Area and in Oakland is super high, right? So we want to really think about like what does, more middle class kind of like housing availability around affordability there, but then there's a whole group of people who are at the brink of losing housing, right? They're at the brink of being unhoused and homeless because of these types of policies. Like this is how local policy directly impact people's day-to-day lives. I'm wondering if you have anything else, Chuck, around that, because I know that, there was a little bit of a fight like in Chinatown in recent years, right? And it was a big fight to get because in the city, I think it's 8% of any new buildings have to have affordable housing, like units designation. And there was a big fight in Chinatown to really push for like housing in Brooklyn Basin to be at a higher level. And that the 12th Street development too, there was some fight about trying to get that to be higher than 10% as well. And so what people don't know is that there's a lot of that land that isn't actually private, it's actually publicly owned, right? And it's leased to developers. So developers are making a shit ton of money on our city and then walking away with that, which is what the A's would basically be doing, is that they would get access to public land, right? And then make a shit ton of money on it. And they're saying like, once we make that money, then we can give you some affordable housing through our tax, whatever we're earning, the city earns through taxes. But we don't have time for that. We have 6,000 people living on the streets. So I wonder if you could like say a little bit more about that, Chuck, around like, what those kinds of policies mean for our communities, and like, what does like affordable housing really mean for us, and what are we asking from the A's?
or the other thing you might want to talk about is how this project's going to impact Chinatown, right?
Yes.
And some of the things that you all are looking to
That's
see
right.
if this is improved, because that was a big part of what happened on the 20th when we were talking about
That's right.
things that need to happen, right? It's like addressing the neighborhood specific impacts. So
Yeah, definitely. Chinatown is definitely going to be impacted. The EIR scope only limits the review to a certain radius from the project site, but it's inevitable that it's going to come and affect us. I actually, back in Seattle, I was doing organizing in our Chinatown International District, where there is also a few sports stadiums, and that first came up in like I think the 80s maybe, and that's where the phrase "humbaos, not hotels" comes from. Uncle Bob Santos, who was a Filipino community leader, very important history there.
Right.
And yeah, decades ago, they knew that this would impact Chinatown negatively, and we have seen that play out. Back to Oakland Chinatown, everyone has been seeing all those new high rises, and all of our APEN members are like, yeah, that's not made for us. We all know that it's not made for us.
Right.
And the more that our people continue to be pushed out, the more that we're going to be seeing this historic, monumental Chinatown, a real living, thriving Chinatown, which is actually so rare in the US. It's so
Right.
rare.
It is.
We're just going to see that continue to disappear and be replaced by these luxury condos and whatever playgrounds that the rich and wealthy folks want to see. I think there's another argument here from other folks who just want to see more housing in general, and they think that we can have some sort of like trickle down where we make like market rate or like luxury condos, and then supposedly that the high income earning folks aren't going to be competing with low income folks for market rate housing or something. I don't really understand. Um, and it's like, why would you prioritize these people who could live literally anywhere? They can afford to live outside of Chinatown, but you're building housing and services and whatever they want, right?
Right.
And our aunties and uncles who like don't really speak English rely on Chinatown for their groceries and their doctor appointments and all of that, you know? Where else are they gonna find that if we don't have it in there?
Yeah.
So I really think that we need to prioritize affordable housing in order to keep the culture, the people, and the history alive.
Right. And like, I mean, let's talk about the history of it, right? Because it's like that is both mirrored both in Chinatown and West Oakland. And much of the flatlands in Oakland, right, this is where we saw redlining at its best and predating even home loan redlining. Like the history um, of where Chinatown even sits is directly an impact from policy that was like, we're just going to, you can't actually live outside of these blocks. Like if you're Chinese or Asian or presumed to be Chinese because you are Asian or whatever they decide, you can only live here to here. And you can't move outside, literally had laws that was like, you can't live outside of these places, right? So in San Francisco and in other places, there are actually tunnels where folks had to travel at night so they can travel at night because they couldn't even walk on the streets, right? Because they would get harassed and then thrown in jail and all of the things. And so, and then, you know, get pushed. And now we are at this place where Chinatown is like a thriving economic heartbeat to many cities, right? Chinatown in San Francisco, Chinatown in New York City, in Oakland. It is thriving, and it is now some of the most culturally relevant, because it's not just Chinese people, right, that come to Chinatown. That's the history, but there are many Asian people that come through there. But our Chinatown locally is located downtown Oakland. So everybody who works downtown goes to Chinatown, right? We go through China. There's so many local services. There's lots of cultural events. There's so much that happens in Chinatown. Restaurants. There's just so many things, right? Like I get my hair cut. I've been getting my hair cut in Chinatown for, I don't know, 20 years, right? So
Wow.
like to have and so for folks now to look at it and they're like, look at that land, look how much it's worth, right? To not only to developers, but to corporations and their need for whatever expansion that they might have. And so it only behooves the Oakland A's to just simply ignore a community like Chinatown or West Oakland. I didn't even get into the history of West Oakland, y'all. Like, and that, like the Black working class people that worked at the ports and the industry. Like people think of West Oakland now as only the ports, but it was down by Mandela Parkway. That whole, all of that was industry. And that was all Black folks who migrated here from the South, right? And a lot of Asian folks, a lot of Latinx folks as well, but like mainly Black folks. And so, so now, of course, they're going to ignore those things because once they ignore it, then they can drive out people, and then you have nobody to fight back, no one to protest, no one to come to city council meetings to, like, we're no longer going to have all these amazing APEN members to come and say, no, this is my neighborhood, right? Because then they're no longer there. And then whoop, swoop in. And this is a long-term project of gentrification.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big concerns that it's, they're proposing to build as many as 3,000 units of housing. The stadium itself will be 35,000 seat stadium. So there's a concern about the influx of traffic.
Yes.
Right. And
yes.
so that's a big issue. And I think there's a big concern about Chinatown businesses in particular, right? If there's no place for people to park, to go actually be, to take advantage of the amenities there. So I know that's a big piece. And then you have greenhouse gas emissions, of course, because cars pollute, and West Oakland has already been affected by disproportionate rates of asthma, just other instances of environmental racism. So I think there are people in the community who want to see that land opened up. And that's a big argument that the developer is making, like that by building this stadium and creating like parks and open space and retail and entertainment, right? That's going to be an amenity for the West Oakland community because that is currently industrial use, So I live in East Oakland. I don't have an opinion about that because I don't live there, but I do know as far as the port itself, it is public land, and we do need to, this is the slogan, right? Public land for public good. I think you used that on the flyer for this.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? What is public good? I mean, for
yes.
EBASE, we've been concerned about jobs. So a good thing in that term sheet is that they're looking at jobs policies that were already adopted for the Oakland Army base,
right?
Which, I think set a good foundation. We still want to see in the final deal that there's not a lot of exemptions and carve outs. But in terms of things like a living wage, a big, big concern for us is local hiring to make sure that whatever jobs are created are accessible to people in not just West Oakland and, downtown Chinatown, but like the flatlands, because if the Coliseum is now going to be empty, that creates issues for the East Oakland community. So
that's right.
I think the developer and the city have tried to make it very narrow in terms of the impacted communities immediately around the proposed development. But like East Oakland's going to be impacted too. I mean, we already saw the Raiders and Warriors bounce, right? The A's are about to bounce too. So what does that mean? And there are, just to mention, several proposals for the Coliseum.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
A couple that were proposed on the same day at a different city council meeting later on the 20th. They approved term sheets for the African American Sports and Entertainment Group. They're trying to bring a WNBA team to the Coliseum.
Yeah, I would enjoy that one.
Really exciting.
It's kind of exciting. They also, within that term sheet, laid a pretty solid framework for a community benefits agreement to come out of that development. And they agreed to the 35% affordable housing. Like the developer agreed as part of the term sheet already. So that's a real stark contrast to what we've seen with John Fisher and Dave Cavell over at Howard Terminal. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and Chuck should also weigh in on any of those things or more.
They just have not, the billionaires in this process have not come correct this whole time.
That's right.
Like releasing all of their threats on Twitter, saying it's my way or the highway. When this development is so complex, it's like on public land, first of all, and what it comes down to for them is making a profit. This is what they're after. They don't care about whether we have a good environment to live in, affordable housing, and good jobs and all. They have really just tried to strong arm the city into going by their terms.
That's the quote.
I don't know what else.
That is the quote from today, is billionaires did not come correct. That is it. Like, y'all, that is, I think, the key. And that was one of the things that kind of resonated throughout public comment, which is we will not be bullied by billionaires, right? That you can't come in here and then just say, and then make us beholden to the entire process, to what you want, right? That imagine, okay, so let's do this little activity toward to kind of wrap out our conversation. What would have it looked like if they showed up and the invitation was different, right? The invitation to like collaborate and join with community around making Oakland better, right? Making Oakland a safe place to live for all of us, for people to travel here, to enjoy and live here and thrive. Like, what if Oakland A's, the Fisher Foundation, the Fisher Corporation said, we want to do that. We really want to invest in Oakland. What would that mean? How would you imagine that conversation to look like? What would we want?
I mean, I don't know what the history is behind like Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, but what if we had something like that here? You know, it's
Ooh, look
beautiful.
at Chuck.
It's
It's Lake
beautiful.
Merritt.
Yeah,
That's our Golden Gate, Lake
yeah,
Merritt.
it's like Merritt, but like it shouldn't be like confined to that area. And this could be a really beautiful project in a different parallel universe. But the way that they've laid out the terms and what they want to see in the project, we're not going to get that the way it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it would look like in this development, if it moves forward, they're pretty much financing the affordable housing from the onset, like right when the project starts, not 10 or 20 years down the line.
That's right.
Whether they're getting reimbursed for that 10 or 20 years down the line, like however that pencils out, but like right now they need to fork over their own money to build the affordable housing and or to acquire other buildings to preserve existing units.
Mm-hmm.
We're also asking them to contribute in the first 10 years to about $15 million to go specifically toward anti-displacement services. So to support legal services, eviction defense, tenant counseling, emergency rental assistance, things of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
to again help offset the potential or like the impacts of gentrification and displacement, right, as a result of land speculation and development, etc. So really like putting their money where their mouth is, because they've talked about being rooted in Oakland. We've all seen the billboards, right? We've been to the games. If Dave would tell you right now, well, we had 200 meetings with communities and we had this whole, process with the community to talk about community benefits. Well, guess what? Like all of that is over. And now it's like, we need you to make commitments. We need you to like fork over some of your money. And I think that's what it looks like, is like a real investment in our city that's going to go toward addressing our immediate needs around housing and jobs and environment.
That's
I
right.
mean, the environmental pieces it's like a whole other thing. They call it CEQA, and there'll be a separate process for that. And I expect that there'll be a number of stakeholders that do pursue like legal recourse as part of CEQA, just because there's a lot of issues that have been raised that I don't think have been adequately addressed in the EIR, the environmental impact report that the city has put together. So as far as a quick timeline, what we've been told they're striving for is to bring back the next or final environmental impact report.
Right.
It's part of all the approvals in October, to have a planning commission hearing on that in November, to bring forward the final approvals to council in December. So that's a super fast and ambitious timeline. I don't know whether or not they're going to adhere to that, but from a community standpoint, that's what we're anticipating. And right after the council vote and Dave's comments and council president or council member Fife's, just questioning what was happening and why we were, even in this discussion.
That's right.
A couple of days later, or maybe the next day, there was a press conference in which the mayor, the council president, and some community and labor leaders kind of called on the A's to come back to the negotiating table. And then a little while after that, the mayor said that they were going to go back to negotiations. So we haven't heard anything, as that was probably in late July. I mean, we're in mid-August, so they're on recess. We don't really know what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
but we do know that Dave and Taj have been in Vegas, right? Like we've seen them on social media. So that was another big issue around relocation and making sure that the A's are committed to staying here if they get this project approved. Not just for, I think they were saying like they would make a commitment to stay here 20 years. I think a lot of the council was pushing that they stay here for like, I think 45 or 66 years, which is as long as those tax districts last.
Mm.
And I think what was in that term sheet that they approved on the 20th was, I want to say 35 years. So I would have to double check on that. But I mean, I think it should definitely be tied with the tax
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the
where
benefit,
this would land.
the benefit that the A's are still gonna get from this, right?
Yeah.
So, let's round it out. I just want to hear, thank you so much, both of you, for like coming on and talking. I always enjoy spending time with y'all, and to do this virtually is still better than nothing. But I wanted to hear like, what are some next steps that are coming up? What are things that people can look out for? But just a big reminder, like right now in about 45 minutes on Cherry and 96th in East Oakland, they're going to APTP and, the Defund Coalition are doing a press conference around the CHP coming into Oakland. So y'all should catch that. Check through any of our social medias to see where that's at. But is there anything that you all want to put out there right now about like what are next steps? What can people do now, if there's anything, and if not that, then what they can plug into EBASE and to APEN?
Sure. Well, I would definitely invite folks to stay connected with eBase at Working East Bay, is the Instagram handle. I think that's our Facebook handle. And then, I'm just Liana, Liana at workingeastbay.org. So feel free to reach out. I would encourage folks to use social media or email to reach directly out to Dave Cavill, right? And to let him know, like, we want the A's to stay, but stay the right way, right? And put your money where your mouth is. We want affordable housing. We want good jobs. We want a healthy environment. So I think he needs to hear from folks because, they're trying to mobilize their fan base. And a lot of fans, aren't necessarily residents of East or West Oakland or Chinatown, right?
Right.
So to hear from folks that live here and that are experiencing and witnessing every day what our communities are going through, right? And then also just talking to your own council people, right? You can email them all at, I think, council@oaklandca.gov and just let them know that you want to see them negotiate a really, the best deal that they can, right, from this. I mean, it's hard for the council because they're trying to balance a lot of things, right? They don't want the last major sports team to bounce,
right?
But they also don't just want to give away the whole store for free,
right?
So, sorry.
Yep, that's
my
right.
battery's
That's okay. How about you, Cheuk?
Go ahead, Cheuk.
Well, we've all heard Chinatown in the news a lot this year for various reasons, mostly not so good reasons. But it's really given us the opportunity, I guess, the silver lining to come together. I think if this had all happened a different year, I'm not sure that we would have gotten like a dozen volunteers from like urban planning and architecture and stuff, that kind of background to come support us with this draft EIR. And so it's really been heartening to see folks come together in such a hard time to build community outside of like crises. And the more we do that, the more our community can stand together and be stronger to have our voice united for a common cause.
That's right.
So continue to stay engaged and find an organization. You don't have to like do anything. You don't have to like do the most, but you can like just signing up for the email listserv.
Yeah.
That means a lot to us.
I'm gonna push people on that one, right? Like, yes, sign up for the listservs. But I think that a lot of people tend to think that when they're volunteering or helping out these organizations, it looks like mobilizing people or organizing all of these things. But actually what we need, like Oakland Rising, what we need is we need some people to help us out with social media. We need people to like do some phone banking, right? We need folks to like, help our partner organizations, right? Like I love to say this. I say it a lot. Is that actually when I was in undergrad, my first phone bank was with APEN, right?
What?
Yeah.
That's so cute.
It was when y'all were at the
Oh.
Asian Resource Center. It was like this one like it was like 2 room office. This when APEN was like just growing. It was small. It had like a really small staff, but this super dedicated staff, you know. And I came out
Mhm.
and I did some phone banking and I learned how to do it there. And now I'm here in this place doing like leading phone banks. But like, you know,
I
like
love
those kinds,
that.
you know, like doing stuff like that. Like you can now, and we all now have the capability to like, you can run a phone bank virtually. Like you could stay at home and do a phone bank for us, right? So, or just like doing texting, or if you have a special skill, right? Like you're an urban engineer, you want to dedicate some time to help do some research, or you want to help spread the word, like help sharing this out with people, engaging people in conversation, moving people towards something is what we really want and need. So plug in,
Yes.
donate to Oakland Rising, oaklandrising.org/donate. You can donate if you really like the Monday meal stuff that we're doing. We're trying to grow on it, try to like pour some water on it so that we can put in the sunshine and let it grow, because we want to build like arts, culture, and democracy, and creating equitable democracy to all, for all. And then also looking at, you know, beyond our recovery, beyond this moment. So help us build those things, and join in. So thank
Well,
you
and
again. Mhm.
just quickly on the
Yep.
Howard Terminal thing
Yeah.
though, so like we are going to be asking people to write comments on the environmental impacts again in
Got it.
October, November. We will be asking people to come out to the Planning Commission hearing. Those things are not scheduled yet, so we don't
Okay.
have dates, but you'll be sending it out, Liz, and
Yep.
putting it on social media.
That's right.
And then the final council hearing, right? So
Right.
October, November, December, we're expecting activity to pick up again, and then we're probably going to do some actions, right? TBD. So we'll holler at y'all
And
and let you
get
know
ready.
what's up.
Get ready. We're going to do some brainstorming on some more baseball metaphors to use. So
Yep.
get
Of
get
course. Of
get
course.
it together, y'all. Drop them in the chat or in the
Right.
We
comments.
haven't used them all yet. Oh.
We need some more special ones, y'all. Okay. Thank you both so much. Enjoy your day. Chuck, I hope that the rally and the press conference goes really well. And Liana, I know that the work that EBASE is doing internally is so important as well. So thank you all.
Thanks for hosting, Liz. Great to see
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Y'all have a good
you.
afternoon and we'll be in touch soon.
Yep.
Peace,
Yes.
everyone. All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.